So what I'd like to do is start off with Wendy Carr. Wendy is from Deloitte, who are a professional services company. And Wendy works within their federal human capital division, and is going to talk today about developing capacity, improving performance. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Here we are. My name is Wendy Carr. I'm with Deloitte. I'm a director in our federal human capital practice. And I'm going to talk a bit about workforce in the context of organizational performance and tell you a story about how we developed our performance-based capacity development approach. Oh, I also have a clicker, huh? Sorry.
So even the computers are having an afternoon dilemma. Can you do it from here? No.
Okay, so it's 2010 in Afghanistan. It's a post-conflict situation, and they're rebuilding the capacity of their organizations to perform the mission in a sustainable way. The government of Afghanistan has mandated that its citizens receive free basic health care services. And we have a contract with the Ministry of Finance and Health Economics and Finance Directorate, whose mission it is to figure out how to finance these services when at the time 80% of those services were funded by donors. And so our contract is to provide training and send one person to university. So we walk into the ministry and there's 7 people, and there's limited English skills. There's no math or statistical skills. Some people have a master's degree. There's no infrastructure processes. There's very manual paper-based processes. And I think, how are we going to solve this problem by training? Which is a classic dilemma in international development, where there's a great need for support and very limited resources and know-how. And a lot of times interventions can be very narrowly focused on training and very divorced from the mission and goals and objectives to be achieved. And so, having seen this a number of times, donors are beginning to really require implementing partners to achieve results for the capacity development efforts. So Deloitte has been in the business of capacity development for over 25 years. And we felt that it was time to really take a look at at the shifts in the marketplace and put together a team to look at our approach to capacity development. So I put together a team and a business case and went to the firm for an investment to create more robust capacity development offerings. And our federal leadership did something that was unprecedented. They said, "You haven't asked for enough money for this." So I went back to the drawing board. I tripled the investment. I got the investment funding. And it really speaks to the commitment that our firm has in doing this type of work. So after hours and hours of research and debate about what gaps there are and what tools are needed, we developed an approach that we call CYPRESS. And CYPRESS stands for Capacity, Performance, Results, Sustainability, which really are the 4 key themes of what we're trying to accomplish. But the crux of the approach is that capacity is not an end state. It's really a means to an end. And CYPRESS explicitly links capacity development to sustained performance improvement. So by demonstrating that solutions address root cause issues in performance between the current state and the desired future state, CYPRESS helps improve both capacity and performance. And we do this by equipping leaders of organizations to really lead through this change and galvanize the support that they need from stakeholders to make changes in their organizations. But doing that isn't enough. To really get to sustainability, you have to create a culture of performance with incentives and performance management institutionalized within the organization. So developing this approach was really quite a journey, and there were a lot of challenges along the way. From a technical perspective, the main challenge was, how do we put the counterparts in the driver's seat, leading their development so that they own and sustain the changes? So for us, it wasn't enough to just involve counterpart organizations in these changes and defining the interventions in their organization. We really wanted to help position them to drive their destiny and their future. And so one of the ways that we do that is a tool that we developed called the Maturity Model Benchmarking Tool. It's a self-assessment tool that's designed with 11 domains that cover all areas of organizational performance, from strategy to mission, operations, HR, people, all the different areas. There's 187 parameters that define those areas, those domains, and the mission delivery domain is tailored for each organization, for the type of organization that the mission of that organization. So if it's supply chain, the mission of that organization would be tailored to the functions that are being performed. So the counterparts are able to select the parameters that they use that link directly to the goals that they're trying to achieve. And the way the model is defined is it's performance-based. So it's not a checklist. It's not, do you have standard operating procedures? Do you have processes? It's very much defined in a way that characterizes what organizations are able to do and how they're able to perform at various levels of maturity, from basic to leading edge. And it was very important for us to have leading edge as the top level of performance, and that means world-class performance anywhere in the world, not just for the developing world. And this is important because it allows counterparts to really see the possibilities, to see what it looks like when an organization functions in its mission in a world-class way. And then they can make a selection as to where on that continuum they want to be and think it's reasonable to be. So for example, one time we implemented this in South Sudan, and we were looking at the IT function specifically, and one of our counterparts said, I think that we're leading edge because we have 5 laptops that are wirelessly linked together. And for them, that was really the possibility that they saw. So by defining what really is, what capabilities are out there, we position counterparts to be able to drive their own destiny. So again, the definitions are all developed so that there's vertical and horizontal integration. The counterparts are able to read it, to score themselves, and then create a justification so it's not so subjective. They have to define why they came up with the score. And then that links directly to a performance improvement plan, where they see what gaps, what actions need to be taken to fill gaps, and they can see what they can do and where they need support. And so counterparts are then in the position where they can ask for support where they need it instead of being told this is what you need to do. It can also be implemented at various levels. It can be implemented at a department level, at the organization level, or at the system level with a set of organizations that need to work together collectively. And we've implemented, counterparts have really said it feels different. It feels different to them to be in that position when they're doing their assessments. So another challenge was an implementation challenge. So now that Cypress is the common standard that we use across all of our programs, we wanted to make sure that the principles of it were adhered to. So we have detailed training and guidebooks, we have structured tools that can be referenced, and we also built in the concept of flexibility and fidelity. So we know that there's very different situations that you're going to encounter, but what are those aspects of the approach that really need to be there to maintain its integrity? So all of that is defined. There are also delivery challenges. So it's great that we have these tools, but how do you actually create a culture of performance when in some cases people don't really have an understanding of what, or experience around what it means to be high performing. In other cases, people aren't really inclined to perform because the incentives aren't there. So one of the techniques we use is called performance sprints, which are 90-day initiatives that are high-impact, mission-related initiatives that are not like quick wins that are low-hanging fruit, but these are really solving a very intransigent problem in a way that allows organizations to really experience what it's like to perform at that level. And then the cultural values that it took get institutionalized in the organization and become a way of doing business. So the final challenge, and probably the biggest one of all, was around internal adoption. So it was having our organization move to a standardized approach on how we do things. But the biggest advocate of that was our counterparts and the feedback that we got on the approach and what it meant to them and how it actually helped them change their performance. So I'll take you back to Afghanistan. And what we did, the first thing that we did, this graphic represents the Cyprus approach. It's a 5-step approach that isn't really revolutionary in terms of what it does, but it's how it's operationalized that really makes the difference. So we sat down with the counterparts and we had them define their goals, which is often a step that's overlooked, but it really helped create buy-in and adoption of the process from the outset. And it helped to also define the intersection of what was important to the counterparts and what we were there to support and help them do. So they said, you know, we don't need just training, we need everything. We don't have processes, we don't have systems. And so we talked to them about what capacity development means. They did a baseline assessment using the maturity model benchmarking tool. They developed an action plan, and they institutionalized monitoring and evaluation of that action plan, which is the last step of the methodology. And all of these tools are simple enough that we can leave behind with them so it becomes part of their annual planning cycle. And so as a result of using this process, not only did we provide training, we provided training in basic English, math, and statistics. We sent 8 people to grad school, and they did it in a way that staggered the time frame so that they always had coverage in the office. We developed a mentorship program for junior staff. We implemented a performance management system. We developed a communication strategy, and we also developed filing systems. We educated stakeholders, and we developed staff technical capacity work stream. And as I said, they institutionalized monitoring evaluation, and now they annually go through this process. So this approach now has been implemented all over the world in 15 countries and 6 sectors with over 200 counterparts. In the supply chain context, it's been implemented in Kenya with the Health Supply Chain Organization that's mandated to procure, warehouse, and distribute health commodities to over 4,000 health facilities. And with them, we were able to avoid expiry of 1.7 million units of medical supply, realized 16% improvement in online delivery to 270 plus hospitals. We improved transportation reliability by 33%. We increased staff knowledge of warehousing practices and improved leadership skills of the team. So I have a challenge for all of you. I think that we should start a movement right here with people that deliver. And we should change the dialogue away from capacity development and move it to performance improvement so that you can see that achieve the results when you link supply chain workforce development to improve supply chain performance. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wendy. That was very interesting, especially around changing, our thinking, taking systematic approaches to improving performance and thinking beyond just training.